What's going on, guys? It's G here, back again with another video. Today I'm going to be showing you guys the strongest druid PvP build in the game. But before we jump into the video, I just want to quickly thank everyone that has supported me in this channel. Thank you very much for helping me hit 50 subscribers. I know it's not a big number, but it does mean a lot to me, so thank you so much for that. Now without further ado, let's jump into the video.
I never assumed oh, this is the route you need to do. There's nothing tells you that. Okay, so I'm on 4 now.
Yeah, basically they're just gonna run.
I mean, I've got a bunch of symbiotic actuals anyway, so.
Alright, so now for this build, we're gonna be relying on our lightning damage that we're gonna be proccing from our claw. That's gonna be our main source of damage. Earthen Bulwark for this build is only for survivability, so that we're unstoppable most of the time when we're fighting. It is very, very important in PvP. Now, if you are going to use the build for Nightmare Dungeons, you are actually able to do so. You just need to change the aspect, or you just need to change the node, going from Preserving Earthen Bulwark to Innate Earthen Bulwark. This is where your damage will be coming from in Nightmare Dungeons. Now, for the gear, starting with the helmet, we're going to want basic attack speed or basic skill attack speed. We're gonna want barrier generation. This is for your earthen bulwark, and then cooldown reduction. Now, again, if you're gonna be using it for Nightmare Dungeons, I suggest going with the Mending Stone aspect, which increases your earthen bulwark by 6 seconds. That's really the only important thing about this aspect. However, if you're not going to be using that for if you're not going to be using it for Nightmare Dungeon and you're going to be mostly using it for PvP, I suggest going with the Vigorous aspect, which basically just gives you a flat damage reduction while shifted into a werewolf. Now, for our chest piece, we're going to want damage reductions and barrier generation, and with the disobedience aspect. For our gloves, we're gonna want the natural balance aspect with attack speed, critical strike chance, and lucky hit. You can have, if you're lucky, maybe you can get critical strike damage with lightning instead of all stats. For our pants, we want total armor and damage reductions, and we want the aspect of the might for this one. Now for our boots, what we're gonna want is damage reduction, movement speed, and fortified generation. And we want the symbiotic aspect for the boots if you're gonna be using this for PvP. Now, if you're gonna be mostly using this build on Nightmare Dungeons, I suggest putting the symbiotic aspect onto your amulet so that you can get 12 seconds instead of 8 seconds on your cooldown reduction. For our weapon, obviously, we're going to want the Crone with the... For our weapon, obviously, we're going to want the Great Staff of Crone. For our weapon, obviously, we're going to need is the Great Staff of Crone. Now, again, for our amulet, if you're going to use this for PvP, we want the rapid aspect. If you're gonna mostly use it for nightmare dungeons, you want the symbiotic aspect so that you can get a 12-second cooldown reduction. Now, the what we're looking for as far as the affixes, we want obviously the envenom. This boosts our critical strike damage by about 30% more. We want damage reduction while injured. That way you can use it for your nightmare dungeons, total armor, and movement speed. For our ring, what we want is we want the overcharge aspect. Previously, before the build was patched, you could actually get a higher damage, but if you were to get the aspect from your Codex of Power. But since they've already patched that one, you could just I think it's best you go for the highest roll that you have, so that instead of getting 10%, you can actually get 20%. But for the affixes, we want critical strike damage. Vulnerable damage is the most important thing for the ring, because you're basically applying vulnerability majority of the time you're fighting someone. Crit damage obviously is needed as well. If I do want to let you guys know, maximum crit damage for PvP is capped at 200%, so you want to keep an eye on that. For the other ring, same thing. What we want is critical strike damage. We want vulnerability, critical strike chance, and the lightning critical strike damage. Now, onto our abilities. We want 5 ranks on Claw, going up to Wild Claw, 3 ranks on Storm Strike, going up to Fierce Storm Strike, and then we want 1 rank on Earth Spike, 1 rank on Enhanced Earth Spike, up to Wild Earth Spike. Now, the reason why we want to get Earth Spike is because when we're using the Staff of Crone with the Nature's Fury, we have a chance to trigger Earth Spike. And if you don't have these two nodes, or if you don't have the enhanced Earth Spike, you don't actually trigger that 10% chance to stun, which is actually a pretty good chance, right? Especially when you're constantly hitting them with Earth Spike because of these two proccing your Nature's Fury. Now, for our core skill, we only want 1 rank on Shred. This is just used to chase people. 3 ranks on Predatory Instinct. 5 ranks on Earthen Bulwark. And this is where you get to decide. You can use Innate Earthen Bulwark for that extra damage, and especially if you're going to be using it for a Nightmare Dungeon, this is it's necessary. The Preserving Bulwark, I was testing it out earlier for PvP. Adds a little bit of survivability, basically. But I think Innate Earthen Bulwark might be a better option, especially if you plan on taking it for Nightmare Dungeon runs. 1 rank on Bloodhowl with Preserving Bloodhowl. 1 rank on the Stress of Fortitude to get your 3 ranks on Vigilance. Now we want 1 rank on Elemental Exposure. We don't need 3 ranks on Elemental Exposure because we basically have a pretty good uptime on vulnerable enemies due to our Storm Strike having a 50% chance to apply vulnerability for 3 seconds. So yeah, we only want 1 second on Elemental Exposure basically to open this up. We want 2 ranks on Charged Atmosphere. We want 3 ranks on Bad Omen, and we want 3 ranks on Electric Shock. This is basically where most of your damage is going to be coming from, and it's going to be coming from your 2 legendary aspects as well, the Rune Workers and the Overcharge. Now we want Hurricane level 1 going to Savage Hurricane just for that less 20% damage from enemies. Not a damage reduction, it's just your enemies deal 20% less. Now we want 1 rank on Neurotoxin, 1 rank in Toxic Claw, 3 ranks on Envenom. We want 1 rank on Defiance, 3 ranks on Natural Disaster, Cataclysm, going up to Supreme Cataclysm, and your bread and butter, which is your Nature's Fury. Basically gives you that uptime. Alright, now for our Paragon board, or starter board, what we want is Werewolf Glyph, followed by Inner Beast with Undaunted. Next will be Lust for Carnage, with the glyph Fang and Claw. And then Thunderstruck with Exploit. Then we want Constricting Tendrils with Fulminate. This is where most of your lightning damage is going to be coming from. And then lastly, what we want is Survival Instinct with the Territorial Glyph. Alright, if you've made it this far into the video, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It does help me a lot and encourages me to make more guides and Diablo 4 videos. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Wow!